Welcome, guys, to today's show. I'm your host, Tom Antos, and this is Filmmaking Times Live. And as always, we got Lucas with us.
Hello, everyone.
Today's topic is going to be, I think, an interesting one, and it's basically about the director's job on a film, and kind of more focusing on the pre-production. The reason why we kind of chose this topic for today's show is because we ourselves are getting ready for our next film production. So maybe Lucas, you want to kind of set up the kind of the little backstory of how the film came about?
All right. Well, I mean, as you many of you who follow us know that we oftentimes visit to Ecuador. We've got some family connections from our wife's sites. So, but it's been a place where we've done a few projects. It's a good place to film. It's got some advantages. It's got some things that Canada or United States doesn't have in terms of the locations and and yeah. So over the time we met some talented filmmakers in Ecuador, and now for a few different reasons we were going to Ecuador, and also we wanted while going there we wanted to again take advantage of what Ecuador has to offer, and Tom wrote a script. It's a short film. And yeah, we're going to be shooting that over the next month. So next weekend we are traveling actually, and going to be in Ecuador for about a month. And we're shooting this short film. Now it's actually 20-minute length, so it's not going to be a quick shoot. Usually we like to do those 2-3 day shoots whenever we can. But this is something more like a featurette. So we'll see how it all goes. We still, as far as I know, we still don't have the final schedule, so I'm not sure exactly how many days we're going to be shooting this, but usually
we have something. Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. This is
I've been out of the loop because basically I'm doing other kind of business stuff here, and so it's been Tom actually titled the video today. It's film director's job, before I shoot, but actually even it's part of it is also the production side, because you've been also looking into the production thing, which is director is almost never far from being a producer, even though you might she might not have the producer title, but yeah, we have again good reliable filmmaker friends in Ecuador who are helping out. And do you want to jump in, Tom? Or
yeah, the people that we're working with is there's going to be some new people, but it's a production company, Garage Filmmakers. They do some really great work out of Ecuador, and we worked with them before. The last actually short film that we premiered here on our YouTube channel, the Legend of the Bar, was actually co-produced with them. This one's kind of a slightly bigger production, so we're hopefully gonna make even cooler, bigger things. And as always, it all starts with the script. So basically, I had an idea, wrote the script down, and the title of the script is Shark Bait. Here's the script, by the way. You can kind of quickly look through it, but I'm not going to give away the ending. But basically, that's how it all starts, as always, right? You start with the script, and once you have a script, I would say the director's job is obviously heavily, involved with the script, even if you're not writing it yourself. I mean, in this case, I wrote the script, but I, also take feedback, right, from other people. So whether it's working with my brother Lucas, or sending it out to my filmmaker friends, and I got a whole bunch of feedback and made some changes based on that. And once you're happy with the script, you kind of go forward. So you do your your normal scene report, all the script basically breakdowns, which now nowadays a lot of the stuff is automated, depends on what software you use. So it kind of shows you the different scenes we have, how many pages for each scene, all that stuff. Same thing for characters, how much dialogue they have, things like that. But then I would say the big thing that a director should do is, well, there's a few things, but basically you as a director, whether you wrote the script or you read a script, you fell in love with it, and you're kind of committed to directing it, you should kind of, visualize it in your head and come up with an idea for the aesthetics, the look of the film, right? Once you have that, it's all great, and if you have it, obviously, but it's useless if it just gets stuck in your head. So you got to be able to get it out there and communicate well with the people that you're working with, especially when you're doing a production like we're doing here, which is, where I'm here in the U.S. and we're basically over the telephone or internet, kind of communicating with the production company in Ecuador. and trying to make sure that all the things are coordinated, that we're getting the right actors, locations. The cinematographer is also Danielle one from Ecuador, so he's on board and kind of understands what I want for the vision of the film and kind of how I want the film to look. And I think the best way to do that is kind of you can call it many different things. I call it a lookbook or production breakdown or whatever, but you basically provide as much information as you can. And also to producers, for example, we're going to have a producer there from Garage Filmmakers, and she's going to be basically handling all the logistics, so making sure we get the locations, making sure we get even like all the little things that are necessary so that you're not like scrambling around on the day of the shoot and being like, okay, we forgot this prop or we need to do this effect, but how the hell do we pull it off? Like, you need to know how you're going to do everything exactly, how you're going to get everything, all the props, costumes, and things like that. So what I do usually on a film is here you can see kind of a breakdown. So I start, usually a kind of description, at least for the main characters, a detailed description of the characters, and I kind of usually do it where you want to describe it, obviously, and it's very important to describe the main characteristics that are important to you as a director. But I'm also then provide some images so that the casting director, for example, knows more or less the look that I want, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily like let's say the look directly like exactly the face or whatever, or even the color of the hair, unless I specify in there. Like if I specify in my description, whatever, our main character Jennifer, she's blonde, and I would put in there. But in this case, I don't care whether she's blonde or whether she's white or black or whatever other ethnicity or whatever. I don't really care. For me, the important thing is that she's a pretty girl, kind of natural looking, not much makeup, and that's pretty much what it is. But it's more about her character. She is very strong, opinionated, and just kind of voices her opinions, very, very loudly. So that's the kind of thing, like kind of more of an independent kind of character. And then as far as the costume, though, that's why I provide, like you can see these photos. It's a film, as the title gives it away, you probably know it's about a shark, and things don't go all as well for the main character, or for the characters in the film as they were hoping for. But it all starts on the beach. And it's basically a lot of people wearing beach stuff. So instead of just telling everybody, just wear whatever you would wear to the beach, you want to make sure that the costume designers or the producer in the film, whoever communicates that, and make sure that everybody has the right outfits and everything. So these are the kind of things that I want for our other character, Daniel. Here again, I describe what's important, and I kind of the kind of look that I want for him. And then again for each one of the characters. So this is kind of what you do, and I think it's important to do this because again, it's gonna clear up a lot of things for your production team, but it's also might even bring up some questions for them that, let's say when you're having a production meeting, they might ask you like, oh, I wasn't quite sure what you meant when you with this photo or that, and then you can kind of elaborate on it more. But I think at the end of the day, you're working in film with a visual medium, so you want to have some visuals in there. You can even have, and I don't always do this, but sometimes I'll even include music. Like let's say if it's a film, or let's say there's a sequence in a film that's very heavily, altered or just affected, or the feel of it is, because of the music that we're going to be using. And I already know, let's say, the piece of music, or more or less the tone of the music I'm going to be using. Then I'll sometimes even include that in there and, provide it in, let's say, in a PDF file like I have here. I'll send that to to my producers, my, music composer, everybody, so they're kind of on board and they know what I'm going for. So pretty much, you got to include some visuals, you got to include some audio, I would say, too, if it's necessary to think, to your.
People are asking whether these are called mood boards. Are they character mood boards?
You can call them that. I mean, you can call them actually a lot of different things. If I call them, I guess this one is just more like a production visual board, I guess, yeah. And then I have this other thing that I call a lookbook, which is more telling especially the cinematographer, but also people who are looking for locations, kind of the look that I want in the final film when it comes to the actual shots, the feel of it, which I'm going to show in a second. But that's the kind of stuff here that I have. So as you can see, it shows all my actors, right? I also have here we have a fisherman. Is thing. So like, kind of describing what I want, but also even for the locations. So you see we have, exterior, ocean day. That's actually how the script opens, and it that's actually shot at this kind of a location. So this is actually a location that I know, so I already included the photos because I've been there. But then, for example, there's some other locations here, like a little beach restaurant, and I want it to be like this little shack, very primitive looking. So again, I want some color, I want something, but I want this kind of a feel. So I just, collect some photos. And again, these are photos that you can just Google these, online, and just use any photos you have, I would say. I don't think you have to have necessarily copyrights for this, because literally this is just internally, right, for you and your crew that you're going to be sharing. If you have, though, your own photos or something that you already took specific, let's say you already maybe went location scouting, or maybe it's a film that's inspired because of a location that you went to, and maybe let's say you have a lot of really nice, interesting photos or even videos that you shot there, and you want that film to take place there, well then, it's best to use your own material, right? Because it's really gonna visualize what you want to show. So, but in this case, like I said, I use some of these images are mine, some of them are just Google images. So whatever is helpful. You can see this exterior toilets. I literally want this toilet to be like the most disgusting toilet ever. So that's why it looks like the way that it does. Yeah, it's kind of basically that's kind of what I show, and then the town and all these things. So again, I think this is going to be helpful for the cinematographer, the location scout, the producers, right? All those things. Especially here, even when you're getting into props. Like a lot of times, you'd be surprised how many of these little indie productions I've been on where, they have great ideas, a really cool script, but they're just, amateurs in arranging the production, and they haven't done the homework, they haven't organized everything. And then you show up on the day off, and it's like sometimes a stupid little thing like, oh, we need the sunglasses for this character. Like it's, he does something with the glasses that's really important for the story. But then it turns out that the actor didn't bring the glasses. Why? Well, because the producer didn't tell him to bring the glasses, or and it just wasn't communicated.
It's the worst. It's so annoying. The prop list.
Exactly. It's those small little things, right, Lucas? I mean, you remember those things those problems we ran into. Yeah. So that's the thing, and those are things that are small, but they're very important, because again, let's say if it's really important to have those glasses, or I don't know, a knife or something, as a prop in the scene, and nobody has it, then you're wasting, even if it just takes 15-20 minutes to go and buy it somewhere and come back, you're wasting that time. But sometimes, trust me, like a whole production will shut down for like an hour or two because people are scrambling and looking for that prop, and that's just time wasted. So again, it's important to have those things, I think, and be prepared. So as you can see here, I have listed all the things, and not for everything I'm going to provide photos. In this case, I want a specific inflatable mattress, so I provide a photo. Then I have, let's say, a volleyball, again, it's kind of self-explanatory. You don't need to provide that stuff, right? Or a photo for it. There's, for example, a car that we need, but one of the cars, I want a specific old kind of beat-up pickup truck kind of look. So that's the reason why I provided the boats that we're going to be using, like things like that. For example, for practical effects, that actually is something, again, that I will provide in my whole, visualization board here for my films. Especially when it's things that sometimes it might be hard to explain, but basically in the script it says that you just see these glaring lights, but you can't really quite make out what it is, and then you realize what's happening. There's basically police there. So that's the reason why I want something that's, I don't want a police car, I just want something that creates these kind of, blue and red kind of glaring lights. We have a shark, a shark fin and things like that. So yeah, so that's the kind of stuff that I'll do. That's more, though, I would say, it provides some visualization, like I said, but also for the production, for the producers, for the location scouts, it's going to be very helpful. But I'll also do what I call a lookbook. And I kind of talked about this already in a few things that I've done, like especially these online seminars that I've done, or filmmaking seminars that I've done in the past. So I'll kind of show you. Here I have a lookbook for a film that I actually shot with the same production company before. So you see, these are just images I took from Shutterstock, just literally, and you can, again, use stock websites, you can use whatever you want, Google Images. And these are just images that kind of show the location that I want, the kind of the feel of the scene, right, that we're going to have. And then here, let me just kind of show you how that scene actually ended up kind of coming out and looking. So you're going to kind of see, and this scene is comprised of a few different parts. So part of it is this action scene that was shot in Canada in the middle of winter, and I was there and I was working kind of closely with the people that were involved in the film. But the stuff that was shot where the people are kind of intercutting from South America, That was again shot with the production team in Ecuador. The same production team we're going to be working on, on this new film. And so again, I needed to send them this lookbook to kind of give them an idea of not just the script, but the kind of visually what kind of streets I want, more or less how they should direct the actors, because that was kind of all second unit stuff. So I had a second unit director who took care of it, and I wasn't there hands-on directing the actors. So they had storyboards, but they also had distinct basically. So, and this is kind of how the film came, that scene came out looking.
This world from some other species, from another planet, outside in the universe. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
So there you kind of saw, a little bit of those shots there. They saw just a few shots, but again, I got exactly what I wanted because it was, well communicated, right, to the team. So, and here, for example, I'll show you also kind of like the storyboards. Storyboards is something again that I'll send usually along with the lookbook, the kind of production bible, whatever you want to call it. Because again, it's going to be, I think, crucial in communicating, because the storyboards is good for communicating the how many shots first are you going to have and what angles you want. The lookbook maybe won't be so specific when it comes to the angles and all that stuff, but it's more about the location, time of day, the kind of colors you want, that kind of stuff it's going to communicate. So now, for example, if you look at this, the storyboard, you can see this is actually the storyboard for that same sequence. So you can see, the kind of different shots there that I have, starting with the first one here on the top, which is just a guy walking, and then he, stops, and I described that in the notes. He stops, looks up from his phone and sees something in the sky, right? And then you see there up here in the sky, there's little basically light, and this is actually how that scene was done by, garage filmmakers in Ecuador, and they again shot it all without me actually having to be there. So. This is a good way of communicating, I think, ideas to your production team, like right here, let's say locally that you might be working with, but especially when you're working with people over a long distance, or let's say that like for this upcoming film, I'm going to be there directing it, but I already need certain locations or actors to be basically picked out and kind of taken care of before I show up there. Here's a storyboard actually from another film that I was doing. Where it was like super low budget, but again, it was just very helpful for me and my brother, basically Lucas, just shot, produced, did everything on this film. So it's like one of those weekend projects, right? We just did these storyboards, and then it's just made it very simple, and especially because some of these shots were shot like weeks apart, or they were shot in completely different locations, a few hundred kilometers or miles away from each other, so we had to shoot one and then make sure that it's going to cut well into the whole sequence. So this is it's going to show you how that sequence looked in the final film, and it actually pretty closely matches to what I had there in the storyboards. If you were to actually go back and kind of look at it. So I'll let you guys kind of again, if you're more interested in that stuff, let me know in the comment section below, and then and I'll do a more in-depth video maybe about the storyboard process and all that stuff. Lookbook, like I said, is something again that I sent along with storyboards. I use it to just whether it's inspire me or inspire my crew. So for example, here's like some lookbook that I created for this was what I believe for a music video or something that we're shooting, and again I wanted this white washed out kind of look with this girl by a window. I wasn't worried too much about the costume. I knew we're gonna have a different costume. And these are the kind of final shots that I ended up with. And again, it was, even the color grading was inspired by those images. So sometimes, and I think it's okay to be inspired by other people's work or images, photos. I think whether you want to admit it or not, we do it subliminally. So here's another, for example, there's a painting that I found I really liked about this girl in the water with these kind of, candles floating. And this kind of contrast of this warm light from the candle and this kind of cool ambient light. And again, this was something that I used for another project that I was shooting, where, as you can see, we, it allowed us to shoot this and get the right location and all the props and everything because we had that lookbook, right? So, it's like I said, it's helpful in many different ways, I think, communicating those ideas. And this is another thing that I did, another image that I used for this music video, kind of a shot where again I knew we were going to be shooting indoors in this basically little makeshift studio with just plain white walls. So because of that, I knew I had to, thanks to this image, I knew I had to bring things to kind of, give it that sparkle, that look. And this was a very limited budget, so we tried our best. But as you can see, we kind of hanged these curtains there, these yellow and red curtains there, and then I had all these little string lights, and that's how the final image came up with. And it's, again, even on a low budget, as you can see, you can come up with some cool stuff if you're prepared and ahead of times, and you bring all those little things. Because had we not brought those curtains or those string lights, then again we just end up with a really boring shot on a white screen, wall. So those are the kind of things I would say as a director. There's different tools, different things, and maybe you guys can let me know, because I know we have a lot of directors watching the show. Let us know what is it that you do when you prepare, because again, I don't think there is a formula or one specific way that you have to go. I think some people will be more hands-on with, like, they'll actually want to go with their, let's say, producers and stuff to the locations and show them physically, let's say, or go to the costume designer to actual stores and look at different clothing and stuff. Whereas some might want to rely more on, let's say, drawing and just do everything through use of sketches and doing storyboards that way and stuff like that. Others might use stock photos and things. I kind of use a mix of everything, especially when I'm working like on this project over a long distance. It's easy for me to just send it over to people. So, and I'll tell you, storyboards though I think is something that everybody should do or have it done, especially when you have things that have visual or even practical effects. Because that really breaks it down, and okay, we need this prop or this effect for this shot and this angle, and again, it's gonna allow you to prepare it and make sure that you can deliver every shot. But you won't be able to prepare for that unless you know what shots it is that you have, right? And storyboards, like you saw, I pretty much just use pencil and paper. I just draw on that. I've been using actually my Microsoft Surface Pro. It's really just, I like it for drawing. It comes with a stylus. I know some people use the iPads with their stylus is also great. So use whatever you have. But at the end of the day, just even if you can draw stick figures, you can do storyboards. There are actually some programs. There's a program that I came across recently, which I'm gonna try this out. To be honest, I don't know exactly how good it is, but I've seen some demos of it, and it allows you to do even these kind of animated storyboards really quickly, it looks like. And it even has this thing they call a story builder, I think. Let me see what it is, what they call it. But it's basically like, it allows you to get storyboards done. Generate here, shot generator. So you literally type in stuff, and it might even be useful for me. So you can apparently type in things that you want, the angle that you want, all that stuff, and it will automatically create these drawings. And then you can always draw on top of these or add. But again, we'll visualize the kind of angle, the shots that you're looking for. So seems like and by the way, and this is free. So I'm not like this company didn't reach out to me or nothing like that. It's not a sponsored anything spot. It literally, I just came across this, and it just seems really interesting. So I thought I would share it with you guys. It's a free program. It's, as far as I know, it's created by other filmmakers who actually use this. So they actually even say this. So they say storyboard is a niche software, this and that. And then there's this interesting little thing they put up here. F Sony Pictures, they make the worst F in movies, whatever. You guys can read this. It's pretty funny, actually, the description. But these are supposedly filmmakers who work on like big budget films, and they just needed a tool that works. And they developed this, and they said, hey, well, let's just give it away for free to people. So I'm kind of curious to try it. It works on Apple, Windows, and Linux, I think. So it's going to be interesting. So, but yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. And like I said, there's no excuse not to do it. It's, because at the end of the day, you're just going to kind of, ruin, I think, or create extra problems for your own film, right? So that's the reason why I would recommend doing that. Anyways, do we have maybe some interesting conversation going on there, Lucas? Any interesting comments, questions, things like that?
Well, the most important thing, are you doing a remake of Jaws, or is it going to be more like Sharkinator? Which one are you going for?
Yeah, I was debating, to be honest. I always wanted to do a shark film. I didn't know what kind of thing to go to, and I enjoy Sharkinator and all those other crazy things, but and that's actually the cinematographer, Danielle, he was kind of the one who gave me this idea. They were like talking about it over the last 2 years. saying one day we got to do a shark movie, and it's just like never came about. We were always busy with stuff. And I remember we originally were talking about doing something crazy, like he's like an alien shark with lasers out of his head and all that stuff. But finally, when I sat down to write this script, I just wasn't even thinking primarily about the shark. I was like thinking about this interesting story about this girl and a guy that kind of get into a disagreement, and then I just thought it would be interesting since they're there and it happens, on a beach town. And I thought, hey, we could shoot in Ecuador. And we can make it that shark movie that I was talking about. And so I would say the sharks were kind of added later on, and they kind of create these certain obstacles for the characters, but that's not really what the main story is about. And so at the end of the day, I'll just give you that away that they're not supernatural or flying or whatever sharks. So that's all I'm going to say. But there's, I think, some cool stuff in there. So when the movie comes out, hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And by the way, we're going to be sharing the whole process as next week we're going to be in Ecuador looking at the different locations, doing the auditions, then shooting the film. We're going to share all of that stuff, all the behind the scenes, and then finally the film on our YouTube channel. So make sure you guys come back. But yeah, that's that's kind of for the how the idea came about for the script. Anything else, Lucas?
Couple questions here. From KK Bronson, he's saying, looks like, since we're going to be shooting in water, do we buy like 2 or 3 of like hot swimsuits and stuff like that, so that in case we lose stuff in water?
Yeah, I mean, that is something, and again, that's something that you're going to be putting in your, basically your whole production breakdown for the producers and everybody and the costume designers. Like, especially, let's say if you're going to be, you're going to be doing, let's say, a stunt where a character has to go in the water, but you want to get it from multiple angles, and things might go wrong. Well, then you got to think about it and be like, okay, if we have the actor jumping once in their clothing, they come out, yeah, we can have them do it again, but the clothing's all wet, right? So is it going to work? So you got to be very cautious of that, and also storyboards are going to help you with that a lot, because according to storyboards, you're going to kind of know, well, no, we only just need that one angle of this. That's it. So, and let's say you go, I don't think it's going to be that hard. Just do one angle, falls even, even if something doesn't work out, we can cut to this or that. So you kind of know based on that if you're going to, if it's something that you might have to repeat a few times. But definitely, I know now my film, I'm going to have a character that falls, overboard into the water. And it's going to be very useful if I actually have the same outfit, but to have 2 of those. So it's, again, something that you want to put in your notes and then communicate that to the producer, to your, whoever's taking care of the costumes. The thing. But again, it might not always be the case. So that's where you can also save yourself a lot of time and money by doing this planning first, because then you'll know, okay, we don't need that. We don't need to worry about a duplicate clothing or prop or something, right? But sometimes you might need to. So for example, I know there's a few things that happen with beer bottles breaking. And we need those. We need multiple, and we also need to do it safely. So I want to get the sugar, basically, bottles are the movie props, basically. So we need to take care of all that and get all those props and basically, yeah, get arranged. So.
Now, I mean, overall, though, I'm kind of worried about shooting in the water. Like, I know, many years ago, we had a conversation that, oh man, like working with kids, animals, and like you're shooting on, in water is one of those very challenging things you do as a filmmaker. And we've heard so many stories about buggy projects where they would have miserable time or large delays because of shooting in water. So how do you plan to approach this so we don't become one of those stories where people
I'm going to share it, I would say, more as we're shooting this, and we're also going to have a production meeting over the internet with the production in Ecuador, actually, in the coming days. So we're also going to be discussing some of those details. But some of the stuff will have to be shot out in the open water, and you have currents there, and it's out in the ocean. It's never easy. But at the same time, there's going to be, only for certain things. For some stuff, again, once I'm still not done with the storyboard. So once I have my storyboards finished, then I'll know more basically precisely of, okay, we only need to get, let's say, 2 or 3 shots out in the open water, let's say, and then the rest of it we can shoot actually somewhere, with the boats tied to the dock, just as long as we have the view of the water behind them. And I've done stuff like that, for example, where we did, Red Moon over Rigger's Pond short film that I believe is on our YouTube channel. It was like one of the first short films that we did like 20 years ago or something. And when I shot that film, it was 2 guys on a canoe, in the swampy water. And I think it was like 2 shots that I needed of them out in the water. And it was good that it was only 2 shots because the one time they almost fell in the water. And one of the actors didn't know how to swim. But the rest of it, I was able, because I storyboarded it, I was able to bring the canoe and we had it literally lying on the shore, on the sand, and just so that we could see water behind them in the angles. And it looked like they were, out in the water and doing all these dangerous things, when in fact they weren't. So most of it was shot very safely and, like I said, partially in sand, partially in water. So you can do that things, and that's kind of, again, that's going to be part of the whole, we're going to be showing you guys how we did this film. I see some interesting comment here from Kevin from Car Galaxy Studios. He's saying, so what is the order you work? Do you do the short, the script first, then write the mood boards, or work on those at the same time as writing the script, or before? And I say it's interesting because I think there's no set, way of doing those things, because it's kind of going to come down to the project that you're doing. And like I said, there's been sometimes stuff where, like, projects that came about because I literally traveled somewhere and I saw a location and I was like, wow, this looks really cool. And I was there taking already photos. So you could say I was already creating my mood board before I even had the idea for the film and the script. Or with music, I've had cases where I listened to a piece of music and I just fell in love with it. And that's kind of what started it. So then I would write the script kind of, while I was listening to it already and things like that. So you could say I was doing 2 things, at once, or doing one before the other. In the case of this film, it was kind of more the tradition of first the script, and that's all I worried about. But I already kind of had ideas in my head because I knew more or less the place in Ecuador where we're going to be shooting this. So because I know the areas, the locations, I kind of was thinking, oh yeah, I remember this little place like this. I think this will be good, or this, where we can film it in, and things like that. So because of that, I was already kind of, like you could say, I had it in the back of my head, but I still was like, I'm going to write the script, and then I kind of went in and started collecting the images for my mood board, my lookbook, whatever you want to call it. Any other comments?
Yeah, there's here from, hold on, okay, from Trevor.
Okay.
He's saying, does the storyboard include information about color palettes, like target grades or color targets, or is it decided by the director while shooting?
You're gonna kind of like those, like that lookbook that I showed you guys of those shots, like people in the streets looking up at the sky at the light. In those shots, when you just rewind the video, you guys can watch it. You'll see there's very specific colors that I picked for those shots. The kind of colors both of the locations, the outfits, but also just even the time of the day will dictate part of that, and then the color grading, because those shots that I picked, those were images, like nice photographs from Shutterstock that already had this nice color grade done to it, and I just liked it. I liked that look. That was already something I had in my mind. And then when you watch the final film, which is that film is actually United We Stand, which is available on our YouTube channel, you can go and you can watch that whole opening sequence, and you'll see that the final colors are similar to that, but they're slightly changed. Because I would say, as a director, you should always have also you should feel like don't feel stuck to like, oh, because I storyboarded and I have to have this angle and the sequence has to be so and so way, or the colors have to be so and so, because you can always change later on. It's better if you don't change, like just come up with all this planning and then suddenly change everything, because it just makes it a mess for everybody that you're working with. But you can always go and change your mind, and improve on it, I would say, or add extra little things and little changes here and there. And I do that all the time. So like in the case of that film, when we were color grading, I decided, what, it doesn't fit that well with the stuff that we shot in the winter. So I'm kind of like, I wanted to kind of tie in better, so I changed the color grade slightly. I started kind of playing around with it. And I will sometimes do that with storyboards. Like, I usually show up and I have storyboarded like every shot. That's how, and not everybody does it that way. Maybe you don't have to do it, but that's kind of how I work, because I come from animation background, and in animation you kind of have to, storyboard everything, because nothing happens by chance. You kind of have to create every shot, so you got to know what you're going for right from the start. And so because of that, I'm very particular, and I have all of my shots organized. But that does not mean that when I'm there on locations, that I won't sometimes get an extra shot, or sometimes eliminate one shot with something else. Because, like I said, there's been cases where sometimes, I remember when I was shooting on that same film, United We Stand, our stunt guy was doing this one stunt, and he told me, he said, first of all, I think it's going to be too dangerous to have the camera here and all this stuff. Plus, I think it's going to be a lot cooler if you capture it from this angle. And I did a little test, and I was like, you're right. So I scratched out, I remember it was like 2 or 3 shots that I eliminated, and that I was planning to capture the stunt in, and I was able to get everything in one shot, and it looked really cool. So sometimes things like that will happen. You have to be open and flexible, right? Let's see. Any other comments before I do want to show our submissions? So
yeah, for here comment from CG Photo Art. He says that one time he left his lookbook at home and he was shooting in Czech Republic and basically on another continent. It sounds like, and yeah, so it was one of the most difficult shoots he's ever had. You have to remember all the thoughts, intentions about every scene.
Yeah, and that's why I will tell you guys. Doesn't matter, like when I do my storyboards on paper, doesn't matter how you create your lookbook. At the end of the day, create it as an online document. Google Docs, that's what I use. You can create it, use anything else. It's free, so why not? And literally have it at the end of the day in a digital form, because, chances are these days we all have access, or somebody is on your production team is going to have access to a telephone, to internet, and you can then, look up in my case, I just go, log into my Google account and I have my Google Docs, everything is there. So like the stuff that I was showing you, that's all my Google Docs. So my storyboards, I'll create it sometimes on paper, but I'll scan it in there. If you're using software like that one I was showing you or something else, that's already in a digital form, so you can just do that. But storyboards, a lot of times, like even if I didn't have a scanner, again, you have a phone, take your phone and just take photos of your storyboards that you did, then upload it to your Google Docs, and you have it there. And it's just a safe way, like I said, because things will happen. And you'd be surprised how many times I've seen people who do storyboards and they do one copy and that's it. And I was like, what? And then I remember there was one music video we shot where then something happened where somebody left the storyboard. Basically, storyboards opened and it started raining and all the ink and everything just kind of it just became a horrible mess to look at. And some of the notes the director had in there were erased, and then I asked the director, and he's like, "No, that's the only copy we had." And I was like, "What do you mean? Like you didn't scan it?" No, that's it. So
just for reference, this was 1998, so before Google Cloud and all that.
Yeah. But anyways, so maybe let's get into the first submission, then we'll get some really cool submissions I think today. So and then we can get to some questions. So if you guys have more questions, leave it in the comments. Same on Facebook and on YouTube. And as always, also after the show is done, if you have more questions or comments, just leave them below, and I'll answer to you guys. So first submission is from Roger Gonzales, and it's basically says he wanted to show something like with playing with light and dark, a lot of shadows, and basically you were just experimenting. He had a model and just got these beautiful shots of this model, and let's take a look at the work, and you guys, share your opinion. Again, it's I'm gonna obviously always let you guys know what I think, but it's I think interesting to see what other people think, because one opinion doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right one, right? So anyways, here is Roger's video, so let's check it out. So maybe that's all I'm going to show, because there are some shots in there that it's not pornographic in any way, but it's just something that unfortunately YouTube will literally, if there's a little bit of a nipple, that's I'll sometimes take it down. So because I can't show the rest, but it is a nice video, and I'll tell you what I like about it is the kind of play with the shadows. So I think Roger, I think you did a good job. I also like the music that you picked in the video. I think it just, and then the camera work with the slight handheld look, but it's not overly shaky or camera kind of dancing around like some people tend to do when they're hand holding. You pick the shot specifically, and I love, for example, you have a beautiful model, you can show her in many different ways, right? And a lot of times people are just whatever, just put a whole bunch of light and just like boom, that's it. And there's nothing creative in there. What I like is that you had these shots that were like so dark and almost looked like underexposed, but you just saw enough, or you saw a nice silhouette against the window, or things like that. And then the close-ups cutting in from the wider shots, for example, to close-ups of the girl smiling and things like that. And the camera work, like I actually like the very subtle little that handheld look, but I think that just kind of fits, I think, that music that you picked. So it's an interesting video, and again, after the show, we're going to provide the links to those. So if you guys want to watch the full video, you can do that after the show. It's on Vimeo. That's the reason why. Again, on Vimeo, you can put that kind of stuff. On YouTube, we don't want this video to be taken down. All right, next submission we have is from Danielle Davis, and it's a film. It's a slightly longer film, so I don't know if we'll be able to show the whole thing, but it's a film that she shot in 2011. At the University of Michigan, and it was she said the whole thing was shot in Detroit, and it was like basically her first big project. So she wanted to kind of see, years later, I guess what we think, and just also just kind of show off her work. So I'd be interested actually to see some of your work, Danielle. So if you have any other like more current work, send it in again. But anyways, here is your film, so let's show it, and then afterwards we can kind of talk about it a little bit and kind of give you my opinion.
Page 6. It began with the Nain Rouge. A red glimmer in the distance. A fading shadow barely visible in the mist. Somewhere a fire was dying, taking with it the only light to right by. And right I must. For me. For my sister.
Jack, hey, it's Anna. I was hoping I can ask you for a favor. Got hired to work on this Nain Rouge script by this crazy director. But I could use some help with some research. I guess they're looking for a location scout, so maybe you could give me a call or text me or something.
The Nain Rouge lurks everywhere in Detroit, especially in those places marred by bad luck. This place is the epitome of bad luck and misfortune in Detroit.
You don't come in here alone, do you?
Of course not. It's too dangerous. The small numbers, that's a good idea. But alone, it's very bad. Thought you saw something?
Yeah, I know it's crazy. And probably just tired, but...
Don't worry. Don't even think about it, The shadows play tricks on you. Not just here, but all these places.
I feel like my mind's been playing a lot of tricks on me lately.
It's not haunted by ghosts, just by the past. Plus, these places are just fucking creepy.
Probably should get going pretty soon. School night and everything.
Yeah, it's probably for the best anyways. I mean, you don't want to be in these places after dark. I'm really glad you called, Anna.
Me too, Jack.
I've missed you.
Yeah.
All right, well, sounds good. I'll text you about tomorrow. Jim, he's got a specific spot in mind.
Jim's coming?
directors.
Why won't you tell me about Jack?
Because I already told you there's nothing to tell.
Then why are you blushing?
When did you get so smart?
When you were busy writing.
Fair enough. Well, I promise if there is anything to tell you about Jack, you and Eirik will be the first ones to know.
It's a good thing you plan on telling Eirik, because I would tell him anyway.
I know. Now, bedtime. Both of you. Eirik, don't you keep this one up all night by talking again.
So I'm gonna kind of cut it there and let you guys see the whole film. Which is like around 15 minutes long. I like the film, to be honest. Like when we got the submission, I started watching it. I guess what interested me about it is that it's about filmmakers, right? You know, they go on a location scout. So it's right away, you know, it's something that I'm interested in. So if you're a filmmaker and you want to kind of see the, kind of in a way, the process of like, is kind of like this indie film that they're working on. That's what's kind of cool. What I liked about it was that there's this kind of mood right away of like, okay, something's gonna go down and it's not gonna be very pretty. And so it kept me guessing. That's what I liked about it. At first I thought it was like, okay, you know, something's gonna happen to this girl in this weird location. This guy, I don't know if he's as friendly as he's acting. Then I was thinking maybe she's gonna do something interesting, because she kind of gets these different visions and things, and then some of them come to life when she, like, basically, like, she sleeps, she sees things, and then things. So I don't want to spoil the movie, but there's actually a cool twist at the end. Well done overall. What I didn't like about it is the locations that you got, like where that, you know, old creepy building and stuff. Amazing locations, like just the look of it, and even the lighting there. I don't know if you guys even lit anything in there, but the lighting maybe was just naturally there at the location. It just created this kind of a perfect mood. What I didn't like is the interior scene, especially with her, you know, with the little girl, like in a bedroom or in the living room. At night, the stuff was not that bad, and it's partially because not because the lighting was great, but because it was just dark, so you didn't get to see the location too much. But what I didn't like is like when you saw too much of that living room or whatever, and you had these nice views out the windows and stuff, but something about it, like, it just looked plain, those rooms, or the lighting definitely was like, some of the lighting in those locations looked really just plain to like very harsh looking and stuff like that. So that's what I didn't like. I loved the editing, by the way. Whoever did the editing, good job on that. Like how while she's talking and saying, you know, oh, whatever, I haven't been doing it that well, and then how in the middle of it cuts to things, but it's like, it's just jarring enough, but it's in a thing. So it creates the right mood. And I think as the story progresses, again, there's more and more of this weird stuff happening. So I really like that. And overall, I think it was an interesting story. It just, for me, like I said, production design, like those locations there, felt like, you know, it could have been done better. So that's my thing. But again, you know, who am I to say? It's like, at the end of the day, I know how it is with indie films. It's like sometimes last minute, the perfect location you had falls through, and you just got to use your mom's bedroom or something. You know what I mean? It's happened to us even. So that's kind of how it is. So you make do with the best that you have access to. But I would say those are definitely the things to watch out for, because it can take an interesting story and just make it feel a little less like a film. Like, there was some very cinematic moments in this, and then there were these shots that just looked very cheap, very video-y. That's kind of, I guess, what I would say. So that's something, just something to be aware of. But cool idea, well edited. I think there were some really nicely shot sequences in those locations, and just, you know, just keep on going, Danielle. So good job with it. And I believe you're also the actress, right? I believe you're the main actress in it. I might be mistaken, but from the credits, I remember that's what I saw. And I love the ending, by the way. So again, I'm not gonna spoil it. I'll let you guys watch it. We'll provide the links. Next submission is Lucas. Where is it? Where's the next one? It's from. Oh, here I have it. It's from Rohit. Aggarwal. Oh, okay. So he already submitted to us. He's a filmmaker that I actually had a chance to work with him. He was our AD on a film that I shot in India, and he's gone into directing. So he did a film that he actually won a contest with us. It was like a few months ago, last year. He won the contest for this mobile filmmaking thing, and he's done a new film. And yeah, let's take a look at it. So let's watch it, and hopefully it's not too long, because again, we're running out of time. But let's see how it looks here.
स्वच्छ भारत का इरादा इरादा कर लिया हमने। चल साहिल बेटा जल्दी जल्दी झाड़ू लगा, कचरे वाली आती होगी। लगता है कचरे वाली आ गई। जल्दी जल्दी कचरा इकट्ठा करो साहिल बाबू, जल्दी जल्दी।
ओ साहिल।
अरे बुआ जी आइए आइए। पायला बुआ जी।
अरे जीता रे। आज ऑफिस नहीं गया?
नहीं, मेरा काम तो घर से भी हो जाता है ना, और इस बहाने घर भी संभल जाता है।
घर भी संभल जाता है? बहू छोड़ कर चली गई?
अरे नहीं, ऑफिस गई है। ईयर एंडिंग है ना, तो वर्क प्रेशर बहुत है।
वर्क प्रेशर?
जी।
बहू ऑफिस गई है और तू घर संभाल रहा है। अभी सोचा है 4 लोग देखेंगे तो क्या कहेंगे?
4 लोग? लेकिन मुझे तो कोई दिखाई नहीं दे रहा। बुआ जी।
बोल।
आपके लिए चाय में अदरक और इलायची डाल दूं?
तू चाय भी बना लेता है?
अरे मैं तो पकौड़े भी तल रहा हूँ।
पकौड़े भी तल लेता है?
हाँ।
देश का युवा तो भाई हाथ से जा रहा है। ठीक है भाई, तो बना ही रहा है तो मेरे लिए भी 2 लौंग डाल देना चाय में।
बुआ जी ये लीजिए गर्मा गर्म पकौड़े।
वाह, पकौड़े तो बहुत अच्छे बने।
सच में बुआ जी? बुआ जी मैं सोच रहा हूँ चाय और पकौड़े।
So I'm going to kind of jump in. We won't be able to show the whole film, unfortunately. We're running short on time. But Rohit, big improvement I see in your work from the previous submission. I see you've gotten a better camera. You can see it right away, and just it's 4K and everything. And just I see you paying attention more to the coverage, getting full coverage. Because in your previous work, I know it was shot on a mobile phone, but sometimes it seemed like you just didn't have enough coverage of the scene from the right angles and stuff. What I'm not a fan of is still it feels very video-y, like in terms of the lighting, even the composition. You can see like all this empty headroom, and there's nothing interesting here to show in this location. So, and here I would cut closer to them, things like that. Here you see she's out of focus, like little technical things, but also the lighting feels very, very just simple, like very flat. It just seems like you were just going for just to get exposure. So I would say you can create a lot better mood in that sense. Story-wise, I did actually watch the whole film before. So story-wise, and you have that the little reveal at the end where, it's not about all the expectations or raising. So you're not worried about all the things, that what others might say, which is, kind of what his aunt is basically, telling the main character. I kind of like this reveal, what happens with the little girl again. So I'll let you guys, without spoiling the whole story, I'm going to let you guys watch it. I'll provide the link to Rohit's film. And it's interesting to see it, the kind of indie filmmaking in India now kind of picking up. And there's more and more, I know, people there who are doing stuff, I guess, that makes it financially available for them to do it because of this equipment. So, yeah, there's some interesting things definitely in here, some improvements, but I would say you want to make sure like your composition, even here you see there was a lot of like this weird camera placement. Don't always place somebody in the middle of the frame. Just things like that. I would say lighting, and sound. There was moments where the sound in the film, I'm sure you guys heard it. It just kind of would cut in and out, like it was this. You could hear the ambient noise, the background noise, and suddenly it would cut out and things. So from a technical point of view, it's still, it's still not all there. But it's great that you're doing the work, Rohit. So I would encourage you to keep on working. Seems like you got the right equipment now. It's just paying attention to all those little technical things. So. Anyways, thank you for your submission. We do have other submissions, but again, we're running out of time, so we'll catch up with those on the next show. We are actually going to be, like I said, we're flying out to Ecuador this coming
Next weekend.
Yeah, so we're basically not going to. Well, we might not be able to do the show live. We're going to see how our connection is, because we're still not even sure where we're going to be on Sunday. But if we're able to, then we'll do the show, like just even over our phones. But if not, then you guys will have to wait till we're basically back home. In the meantime, we'll try to put out some videos about, and as always, I'm going to be obviously sharing stuff on my Instagram. Definitely there. I'm usually active on Instagram when I'm on location. But on also I'm going to be, on Facebook and on Twitter. So you can check out if you want to see like some of the photos or behind the scenes of us working on this shark movie. So definitely stay in touch there. Again, link to all of my Instagram and everything is in the bottom of the video. And I guess we'll catch up then. I don't know, Lucas, anything else you want to say?
No, just thank you for joining us, and till next time.
All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.